Welcome to the Manhood Neat Podcast. Welcome to the bunker. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And we have a special show tonight. We're just going to be answering the mailbag. I thought since, the holidays and everything are rolling and we're all fat and happy and stuff. And so
that was even before Thanksgiving.
Taking it easy on us.
Yeah. It is just three of us here again tonight. We've got Rob.
Hey, hello.
We've got Ben Lewis.
Good to see y'all. Here
And I'm here. Dylan's still not with us because he had tuberculosis and now he has turkinitis. And Benson, I don't know why Benson's not here tonight. His vest is here.
Bird flu?
But maybe he's got avian bird flu.
Yeah.
It could be. Or turkey flu.
Turkey flu?
Turk flu.
It's a
Tryptophan overload?
Tryptophan.
It's a pandemic.
Pandemic tryptophan.
Yeah.
It happens. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, that it was fantastic. They got to see their loved ones and their crazy uncle and their Aunt Carol. And other than that...
Hopefully they were thankful too.
Well, yeah, that's why it's called Thanksgiving. Of course,
But not everybody's thankful.
If you're not thankful, you're not celebrating Thanksgiving. You're just celebrating giving.
No, eating.
Eating. Fattening. Yes.
Food, family, and football.
Food, family, and football, and farting.
Yeah, there was some of that.
Yeah. All right, Rob, what you been up to?
Oh, gosh, since last? So, a lot of turkey.
Wild turkey?
Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving songs, I don't know if you guys heard that new Thanksgiving song that's out. It's like a
Grandma
country.
got run over by a turkey?
No, it's like a country song. It was like the guys sing it, like talks about Thanksgiving. My son is obsessed with this thing.
No, I haven't heard it. Though my favorite Christmas song, that's not a Christian Christmas song, but my favorite mainstream Christmas song is a country song. It's that old, was it Montgomery Gentry that sang it?
Is it the one called Last Christmas by George Michael?
No. No. That's not even country. It's like Merry Christmas from Me and the Family.
I don't know.
And it's like, crap.
Shania Twain?
I think it's Montgomery Gentry that sings it. I like that one a lot. And then I also like, and this is not country, but it's, crap. Who's from Boston? They're kind of a, Irish sound a little bit to them.
The band Boston?
No. Dang it.
Again,
Irish sounding.
It's that time.
Tripping Up to Boston.
Dropkick Murphys.
Dropkick Murphys.
Dropkick Murphys. But they have a song, a Christmas song. It's great.
Shipping Up to Christmas.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'll have to look it up for the Christmas season. But anyways.
Yeah. No, my son's obsessed with that song, so I hear it. I've heard it so many times, and he's one of those who listens to it and he has it on replay, so just over and over. And I have to tell him, that's enough. You need to turn it off. So I wish I knew who sung it. I'd tell you, but
I got to tell you though, I'm excited to hear Christmas music on the radio again.
It's already popped up in my like Amazon playlist. So I do the whole your soundtrack where it just kind of bases it on stuff you like or own.
yeah.
But what's funny is there's a David Crowder song that pops in. But it's like the intro to a song, so it's not even the real song, and it's the intro to the Elf song. I don't know if you've heard the Elf song by David Crowder, but it's good. But so it goes through this whole spiel, and then it's David Crowder and ladies and gentlemen, this is the Elf song. But then it just, because it's random, it'll just play some random NF song or whatever, and Jordan's like, how's this the Elf song? No, it's not. Anyways, Lewis, what have you been up to?
I've just been eating turkey as well. I took a few days off over the holidays, and it's going to be nice. It was nice to just goof off at home and with the kids. I got a college-age kid on break. Got everybody home like everybody. I think I've told you before.
Is Nate just still freeloading at your house?
He's digging into the basement. He's finishing up, art, and they're turning into more art. So is the mural done?
I think
he had that done at the Christmas parade, right, which is right after Thanksgiving.
Right.
That was his timeline.
Well, no, it would be tomorrow. Saturday.
Yeah,
it's tomorrow.
It's done.
No, today's Friday. You're terrible with calendars and stuff.
So yesterday was Thanksgiving. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, today's Friday.
Oh, that's right. How did we get lucky enough to get out of the house on a Friday night?
No doubt. The day after Thanksgiving.
That's right.
It's crazy.
That's about it, though, man. Eating and eating. On the sprint to the end of the year, December.
Yeah. Did you guys had a good holiday though? Good holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine was good. So Liz's sister and brother were here. or are here. They leave on Sunday. But
What'd you think of the Nebraska-Iowa game this year?
geez, don't even get me started on that, dude. I don't even want to talk about it.
Don't you want to talk about specifics or something?
What about that one play?
Dude, you know that one play. Like, that dude totally should have gone left and went right.
Yeah.
And that guy was like, he was holding to start with. That was holding.
Oh,
But that was
yeah.
defensive holding too.
Totally.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah,
But
bad call.
And when that one guy got hurt, that really hurt.
Yeah. And that one referee, when his pants fell down when he was running,
I
was
can't
like,
believe that happened
That was so
again.
but the wave to the sick kids, that always gets you.
That-
That's
always
true.
gets you
right in the fields.
Right
in
That
the
is
fields.
that is one of the great.
But and then the fact
traditions.
that Ryan Reynolds showed up at halftime,
Oh yeah.
and like nobody knew he was coming, and he
I
was
know.
dressed as Deadpool, but he was shooting his aviator gin into the stands, which I thought was inappropriate because there's kids in there.
Yeah.
But who saw that coming?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody saw
Well,
that.
that
coming.
kid that got hit in the head with it didn't see it.
No, he did not.
No?
Yeah, that taught him. That taught him. So, but yeah, so it was good. It was always good to eat turkey and hang out,
And watch that Husker football.
and watch
game.
that Husker
Watch that
football game.
was-
Don't forget that.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess that was today.
That was
It was today.
It was earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was earlier
Where
today.
have you been?
Yeah, dude, it's like, dude,
I've already been.
It's almost like this didn't never happen.
or it has not
Like,
yet happened.
Has not yet happened. And we're like totally making it up or something.
Yeah, I guess it was all the tryptophan
It was the tryptophan.
Yeah, we fell asleep. through
mixed
it.
with all the.
I feel like we slept through Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
It's all kind of a blur.
It's true, but at least it's not Christmas yet.
It's true.
yeah.
So-
Though you got lights on your house already.
I do. I told it's because, okay, I've been living in tumultuous
Tumultuous.
times, and me and the wife and the kids decided that we needed some happiness, and we thought that maybe just the lights and the changing of the decorations would bring some joy to us, and it did. It worked until you started tearing it down, Rob.
Yeah. I just said it's not time.
It's always time. I celebrate Jesus' birth and life and death and resurrection every day.
Just leave the lights up year round.
I do. I just
Good.
turn them off. And then, actually, what I should do is just.
I would never hear the end of it from my wife if I did that.
What I should
When are you
do.
going to take those down? Are you going to take those down?
No.
When are you going to take those
No,
down?
I'm not.
Just get the LED ones that you can change the color of.
I had those up. Now they're down.
Just go straight to.
Okay. It's like, oh, it's 4th of July.
You go
It's
from-
Easter.
You go from Christmas to
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
yeah.
To Easter.
They didn't work.
Martin Luther King Day. You can put lights up for that.
Red, white, and blue, right?
Right on.
Actually, okay, we're gonna go off topic a little bit here.
It's called a
We're
tangent.
not even, tangent. That's what we're looking for. Have you guys listened to or watched the documentary Uncle Tom?
No.
Do.
Really?
So, do you know who John Cooper is?
No.
Lead singer of Skillet.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's got a podcast called Cooper's Works
Okay.
or Cooper something like that.
Something like that.
But he's been interviewed. Like, it's a really good podcast to start with. Like, it's kind of crazy that the band I was not allowed to listen to when I was like younger because they were too hard rock. He's like become like he's like the most steadfast Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the people I was allowed to listen to, like who's the bald guy who's now gay and like left the Christian church? What's his name? Rich Mullins? Not Rich Mullins. Crap. Anyways, but those people.
It's happened so many times.
Yeah.
It could be about one of
It could be anybody. I was allowed to listen to
Yeah.
him. But anyways, he's right on. But he's interviewing the producer, director, whatever, of this documentary. And I've seen the first one. And the whole thing is kind of breaking down. I'm trying to how do I put this? It's breaking down what is commonly taught as race relations in America versus truth. So it talks about like, what's the guy?
It's not Thomas Sowell. He was.
Thomas Sowell's in there. He's
he?
interviewed in
Okay.
the movie, but he's not the
Okay.
producer. But basically going into like, Martin Luther King was like he was like a super strong communist. Like huge communist.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. But if you watch it, like they've got like all recordings and stuff. And so, some of it I kind of heard of and knew, but not to the extent. But basically this thing about how race relations being a continual fighting point is part of a Marxist movement because to keep us fighting against each other, it's easier for
Separate
Marxism to happen. But they're really good documentaries. I mean, I'd have to do some more digging to see if 100% of it's true. Some of it I've heard before, some of it I've read, in college and stuff. But they're very well done, and I think that they come from a Christian perspective.
Interesting.
And it's the thing it's actually, I mean, I don't know if it's a disclaimer or whatever. I mean, we're probably gonna be banned anyways, but the whole Uncle Tom movie thing is done by African American like conservative scholars. So they're trying to like prove that we don't have to keep fighting. You know, like bad stuff happened. Sure. People apologize. They're trying to be beyond reproach, right? Mm-hmm. And so let's come together and move forward.
Yeah.
They're interesting videos. Even if you don't agree with everything they say, they're worth watching for the thought provoking part of it. And the third one comes out in the future. Yep. So
wow,
cool.
And we're not sponsored by them, but that's my little plug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but we do have a bourbon, or no, we do not have a bourbon tonight. What do we have here?
We're departing a little bit. We have a rye tonight.
Say what?
It's a chicken cock rye, Kentucky straight rye whiskey, and
delightful.
Yeah, I was reading the back here. It's real short. I'll read it to you. One of the oldest whiskey brands in the United States. Chicken Cock was established in 1856 in Paris, Bourbon County, Kentucky. 7 decades later, it was a staple of Prohibition-era speakeasies, including the world-famous Cotton Club, known as the famous old brand. Chicken Cock died off after World War II, but now has returned to its rightful place in the pantheon of great American heritage whiskeys.
You must be reading that because I know you don't know the word pantheon.
Dude, I'm just totally literate.
All right.
It's a 90%.
90%?
180
Wow.
proof. Yeah, 180 proof, 90%. 90 proof, that's 45% alcohol. Iowanians.
All right, well, pop that top there, Lewis.
Let's hear it.
All right, a little pour. Nice. So this bottle is provided by who, Lewis?
This bottle is provided by Charlie Hoffman, my cousin. He gave that to me for my birthday, so I guess I'll share that with him.
With him?
Share the
love.
The glory.
Share the love of.
Perfect.
All right. If you'd like to reach out and support the Manhood Neat podcast, there's multiple ways to do that. The simplest, guys, is just to like and share with your friends in real life, social media, that kind of stuff. If you could rate and review us on the Apple Podcast, if you use that platform, that would be great. You can email us at info@manhoodneat.com, info@manhoodneat.com, or at manhood.neat@gmail.com. And you can email us with questions, which today's in the mailbag, so we'll be going over some of the questions we received in the last few weeks. You can comments, concerns, disagreements, bourbon suggestions. If you'd like to sponsor a bottle and want to know how to do that, you can reach out to us through that. Or if you already got a bottle and you just need an address to send it to, reach out to one of those email addresses and we can get that to you as well. Again, guys, thanks for the continued support. We really enjoyed it. Our numbers are steadily growing slowly, but we're cool with that. We're just happy to have the engagement. We're actually more worried about, not worried, but we more appreciate the engagement we have with our listeners than we are about expanding to new listeners.
Right.
We welcome new listeners, but we like interacting with you guys.
We're about quality listeners, not quantity of listeners.
Yeah. I like the interaction. Like the questions are good. And honestly, I like in some of the questions we read today, there's actually, I don't want to say pushback, but some pushing us harder into what we're talking about, which I think is good.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Gotta think.
You looked at these already, and we're just sitting here blind.
Yeah.
About to get ambushed.
Yeah. That's how I do. Producer, talent. Producer,
man, you got that
talent.
Maybe Rob's talent, but
no.
So we are the highest pinnacle of entertainment and information.
We are the highest pinnacle of entertainment within Utica, Nebraska.
Perfect.
That summed it up right.
That summed it up right there.
Was that like turkey leftovers right there? Or what was
That sounded like a gobble.
It was something.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
It was something. All right, guys. What do we smell on this?
Flatulence.
I was expecting like this really spicy, burn your nose out, but
It's not.
But it's like it smells bright and crisp.
Mm-hmm.
I get some mint on there or something.
Mint,
We get a clove.
Yeah, I get that.
garlic clove.
No.
And there's no garlic in this.
A little bit of cinnamon.
Okay, I ain't gonna lie. So if you took the smell of Simple Green and made it appetizing, that's what this smells like to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I use.
And I don't mean that in derogatory.
I love Simple Green. I would like clean my whole house in it. I love that smell.
Yeah, but this is like real light Simple Green that you just want to. You want to drink.
No, I hear it or
You smell it.
I smell that same thing,
Now that you say it,
but not in a harsh chemically way. It's like
No.
that nice aroma.
It's the after smell of
Yeah,
Simple
yeah.
Green. Yeah.
yeah.
Simple Greens.
Simple Green. All right, let's drink.
This has got a
I was
lovely.
just trying to think of on
This
the
chicken cock's got a lovely green color.
on those tasting wheels.
wanna get that checked
Where does that fall under? The Simple Greens.
Simple Green.
Is that under the fruity or is that under the wood? I don't know.
I don't know. That's why I don't use
Anyway.
the tasting wheels.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Ooh,
That's good.
it is good. It's different. Is this our first rye we reviewed?
You know, I don't get that.
I believe
big-
it's the first rye.
Yeah, I don't get that big alcohol burn.
No.
No, I was
At
expecting
all.
it, but it's a sipper.
It's really goes in and it sits on the palate really well.
It does. But it's not, there's no burn really. It's not like a
No.
burny rye,
Like
spicy rye.
I can, like a rye bread. It definitely has that sweet rye, marble rye type flavor to it. Like you taste that part.
It really moves around the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm gonna take another sip and I want to get a little more. But I mean, I could just kind of taste it. Like, I almost could taste it like under my tongue,
Mm-hmm.
like up on the gums almost. Like it's just moving.
I would agree. Like I can feel it moving down the tongue.
Back in the tonsils.
Well, it doesn't have that big alcohol burn when you drink it either. Like when you swallow it.
Not at all.
Huh. Just really.
I'm not much of a rye guy, but this is a 90 proof rye. Are there real stout ryes? Like
Ryes, I don't know.
I prefer like a higher proof bourbon a lot of times, but I don't know how I'd feel about a rye.
What's Templeton? It's normally 96.
I think it's 90. You talking about the 5-year or the 4-year, whatever, the standard Templeton?
Yeah. I thought it was a little higher than 90. It could be.
I have to look it up. But I don't know. I'm not hugely diverse in ryes. I like Templeton a lot. I mean, I just buy it from time to time. I like the Georgia Duckle rye, and I actually liked that High West we had last week. But their rye, it's called like Rendezvous Rye or something like that.
Yeah,
But that's a good rye.
I've had that in an old fashioned.
Ryes generally aren't as. I don't think I've ever had a rye that really blew me out like a bourbon would.
Yeah, they're not. I don't know if they're as complex.
No, this rye, this.
Like I don't pull a lot.
Fighting?
I don't pull a lot
chicken
out
cock?
of this. It has a good taste to it, but I don't get a lot of hints of other stuff.
No, it's straightforward. It's not complex, but it's good.
Yes, yes.
And it's
honest.
and really like I don't
It's a good way of describing it. You are really a rye.
I don't
You are
get
so honest.
I don't get the flavor profile doesn't really change between the palate and finish. It just kind of
Just stays there.
builds a little
Yeah.
bit to me. Like I start off and then it just kind of accentuates itself.
Yeah.
And then it's quick. I
Yeah.
mean the finish is pretty short.
Yeah, like I just had my drink,
My drink.
20, 30 seconds ago. I can still taste it, and I bet if I took another drink now, it would just keep that same flavor. It wouldn't.
Right.
I mean, it'd bring it up, but it wouldn't.
So it's good.
I like it.
But yeah, it's definitely. It doesn't. The tasting of it's way different to me than tasting a bourbon. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get this multi-level pulling things
exactly.
out. It's just like, okay, this is what you got.
Because I was sitting there trying to what else am I tasting? But I'm just.
Yeah,
It's pretty. Just
Rye.
Just it's straight. Like it is what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's a good flavor.
Yes.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with
It's
it. at
very
all.
smooth.
Yes. I like it.
You would not mix this with anything. Like
No, this is
no,
a sipper, man.
straight.
Yeah.
Straight on. Yeah.
I don't.
You might
I don't
drink,
even know what you pair it with.
I don't think you could put ice on it. Like honestly, like I don't think
Probably
it would
not.
hold up.
Be
I'd
a
probably
good-
water it down so quickly.
Yeah, and it's not spicy enough to need ice. Like even in the summertime.
You know, this would be really good sitting in the cold,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
sitting outside in the cold weather and sipping it.
Now, Rob,
Good.
of course, you compare a cigar with anything. This would go very good with a mild, sweet cigar.
I could see that.
Yeah. Not a flavor, but just
Yep.
a more mild
Yep.
tobacco. That's where I'd go with it. Or if I could even see it to like as a finishing to a meal, not with the meal, but you've had a meal.
Yeah.
Let's finish out. You know, so you've had your good steak, potato, you had your Caesar salad there, you know, and now you just want to. You're done. This would be a dessert.
Maybe I'd
This would be
drive the Chevy to the levee.
Yeah, and the levee was dry.
The levee was dry.
Maybe I'd drink whiskey and rye with some good old boys.
Maybe.
saying
This is probably the rye they were talking about in that song.
This is going to be the night.
But this is like a. This is here's how where I.
This will be
I
the
feel.
day.
You got done with Thanksgiving
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah.
Later on, you're standing outside in the cool weather,
Right.
sipping this with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be really good doing that.
You watched the Husker Iowa football game.
You're depressed.
However that ended, you needed to have a rye.
You know,
Good or bad?
but you know what's funny though is like, so we're gonna go before we get into our actual discussions here of questions.
Are we gonna grade this one or
Oh yeah, we'll grade it.
or
I-
because it's a rye? I know.
No, we'll
but-
grade it. No, because it's still a whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
That's
still a
true.
whiskey. So I was thinking about like you know, there's a whole idea that all things were created for the glory of God, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, like abortion wasn't created for the glory of God because that was
No.
you know. But when I think about like whiskey and like rye and alcohol and wine, like you know, we know Christ turned water into wine and stuff, and I'm thinking like, why? You know, what is the glory that God can get? Because all things can be utilized for the glory of God. And so I'm like, what is it? But then I like you just said it, Rob. Like sitting around and just enjoying people and a good bourbon and a good rye. Like that's got to bring glory to God. I mean, I think it does.
I do. I agree.
Because you're just enjoying people, and it's just, I mean, like, I don't know, like, it had to be divine revelation for somebody to see like corn silage goo, and they're like, I'm gonna put that in a barrel for
gonna
See what
5 years,
For
and then I'm gonna
like
drink it. like,
Yeah.
like, there's no way. But you know what I mean? Like to me, it just like there's. I think that when God looks down on us and He sees us enjoying relationships that He's created,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
that He finds glory in that.
I think what this does, what reminds me of to that point is, especially when you drink them neat like that and slow, it slows us down.
Yeah.
You can't drink this stuff fast, right? If you are, you don't need to be out with
You
the
have a
boys
problem.
drinking.
Yeah.
You need to stop drinking right now.
Yeah.
But when you're sipping, it forces you to slow down and just enjoy the moment,
The same thing
and
with-
not the
Yeah.
and not the craziness of the day or what's going on in your life, right?
You know, and actually they say that that's why they did a study on people who smoke like long leaf cigars or long filler cigars, and this was like people that smoke at most one a day, but most people are like 1-2 a week, right? That they're generally in better health than people who don't smoke any, and what they took it to was because it forces you for an hour and a half to just sit and relax and like de-stress, hang out. And that's like, so like, I'm a big cigar guy, but and I'll smoke a cigar by myself in the garage watching a football game or something. But majority of the cigars I smoke are somebody came over, a couple guys come over.
Yep.
Celebrate a little bit.
Not even celebrating, just enjoying the friendship. They're come out, the being together. And like you said, Rob, like, this is an hour and a half commitment where we can't do nothing else. We're just going to sit
Yeah,
here.
we're just gonna.
That's
That's the best part about these nights. It's not the bourbons or the ryes. It's
Yep.
about hanging out with good folks like y'all.
Yeah. So, Lewis, not counting Rob and I,
Yeah.
what would you rate this thing? We don't want to bring the score down.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard not to rate this and think about like other bourbons and that we've done. I mean, I don't know why this seems like a totally different thing.
It is. But again,
it's a rye, but it tastes. It's very bourbon-esque or whatever. I'd probably be. I'm gonna be like a 64 on this.
okay. All right. Rob?
Yeah, you're right around the same. I was gonna give it a 62.
Nice.
I like it. I mean, I like it.
Yeah. I think it's really good. I like the flavor that's there a lot. Again, we talked about this. It's just one flavor that pulls through. I've also talked about the fact that I love the complexity of bourbons and in some whiskeys. I don't find the complexity here, but I really like the flavor that's there, and it's different.
Yes.
And so, is this something that I want to have in my to have in my stash all the time? No, but it's something I'd like to have in my cabinet. So when I want to change flavor profiles away from bourbon, this is a great way to go. I'm gonna go 61.
Gotcha.
So
Do you know what the proper term is, by the way, for your stash?
No.
No, I don't have a fancy dictionary.
Your bunker.
No, we're in my bunker.
Did you know that?
For real?
I did
When
not.
it comes to bourbons
Uh-uh.
and whiskeys, your bunker is where you have your stash.
In certain parts of the United States, and for sure in Canada, when you get a whiskey Coke, don't they give you a rye and Coke instead?
I've had a Ryan Coke. And I don't care for it as much as I prefer.
Yeah,
No.
I could see that not being. I don't think I'd want Coke in that.
I mean, that's just great the way it is.
I feel like
Now
if
you
you're
go
gonna
with
have Coke
crappier
in something.
rye. I mean, you
Yeah.
can go with,
I suppose.
Like if you're gonna have Coke in something, it's got to be more like because you want to cut the I want to call it harshness, but you know what I mean. Like
You wanna-
like the strength of it. You're trying to cut that a little bit.
You know
I
what?
think.
A cheaper bourbon.
I used
Yeah,
to like whiskey
pretty
and
much.
Cokes. Like, when I was younger, that's what
Yeah.
I drank. I can't do it anymore. I just don't. Now, there,
I don't do it a lot. I don't. But
You do it a lot. So you said,
no, I don't.
Oh.
Used to, but
But I like to mix. If I am going to mix something, I still do like. I like ginger ale in bourbons.
you would
I like squirt in bourbons.
Yeah, that's a good too.
squirt. in
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's almost like a cheap whiskey sour. It's a poor
It's like
man's
a cheap whiskey
sour.
sour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to try that.
That's
I
pretty
love
good.
squirt.
I do too.
Yeah.
My kids will drink the heck out of squirt.
And I like iced tea. I mean, iced tea and bourbon is
It's hard to
not
find.
sweet
Yeah.
tea, just regular iced tea. Yeah.
I always get diet though, and it's hard to find diet squirt.
Really?
When I find it, oh, I love it.
One of my favorite drinks, I think you can't find very much more. Well, I just forgot the name. Not Mellow Yellow. What is it? Sundrop.
Sundrop.
It's like it's like
I've heard of it.
It's like
that's
the Kmart.
South. That's the southern.
it's like the Kmart version of Mountain Dew.
What was the one? Oh, the one I
How about
saw.
a Fresca?
The one I used to find down south was
RC Cola.
no, Hillbilly Holler.
I haven't had
It's
that.
that a-
it's the Mountain Dew alternative.
Oh,
It's called Hillbilly Holler.
Nice.
Look it up.
I get it.
All right.
Only in 2 liters, I think. It's a game.
All right.
So you've got some questions for us.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Mail
All right.
bags.
Mailbag question number 1.
We should have like a mail.
Did these
bag
come in the
theme.
mail, like snail mail, like in a
No,
paper
email.
form?
We need to have like a.
We don't give out our snail mail address.
Okay.
Why don't we have like a mailbag like song? Mailbag, mail.
We can make one.
We need to work
We,
on
should,
that.
we need to do.
All
that.
right.
All right.
I have an empty button.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean, it's not as good as we'll just do this for now. All right, mailbag. Oh, I hit the wrong button again. This is stupid. All right, mailbag.
Too much turkey.
Yeah.
Too much turkey. All right. All right,
That
Lewis.
was straight
Way too
turkey
much.
gravy.
That was way too much protein this week.
Lewis, look up 1 Timothy 3,
All right.
and the question is, what are your thoughts, manhood podcasters? So to us, on not violent in 1 Timothy 3. Is that meekness? Okay, is that meekness of capable great violence, but under control only when necessary, or are we to be pacifists when it comes to church leadership positions?
Oh, that's a great.
Timothy
that's a
3
great
what?
question.
Just 1 Timothy 3.
1 Timothy 3, verse 3. Not a drunkard, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. So we're talking about the qualifications of
Church leadership. Yeah.
church leaders there.
So it says, what does it mean to be not violent? It's talking about meekness, that you're capable of great violence, but under control, and you only show violence when necessary. Or are we to be pacifists when it comes to church leadership positions?
It says gentle. It doesn't say
This is not violent.
Yeah.
not violent. Yeah.
That's not.
It says not violent, be gentle. So what it's to me, to your point, meekness. I think it's more meekness, right? That's
Well, that's his.
It's-
This is his question.
no, but I would agree. Like more of a meek approach. What's meekness? It's bridled power, right?
Yeah, we talked about this
And-
way back. Yeah.
And this is more
Way
of
back.
a choice, right? Like I'm choosing to be gentle in the moment, not. Yeah, I read it.
So what do you think in this, like, this idea of violence here, not violent?
Yeah.
What is the word violent describing in this verse?
I think quick to anger more than anything. The way I read it, and the way I understand it, like somebody who would be very confrontational on everything.
Unjustified violence.
Yeah, like do what I say. Don't respect my authority.
Yeah.
That type of mentality, right? Like, if you challenge them, like, what makes you say that? And being just very in your face on everything, especially as because we're talking about elders here, right? We're talking about somebody who's
Church leadership.
yeah, church leadership in general. So when somebody
So
gets
if you're not an
into leadership,
elder, you can be super violent.
super violent.
Well,
That's why I'm not an elder. And
do you think that there are roles?
You will be.
And okay, so I'm gonna play off the question a little bit here.
sure.
So, do you think that there are things that laymen are called to do that church leadership is forbidden to do? Like, is there a different
Forbidden.
So like,
Oh,
is there,
man.
because of the call of church leadership, does it preclude you from engaging in certain activities, professions, lifestyles that are not forbidden to the rest of Christians?
No.
My answer would be no. But this might be a selfish, earthly answer, but like the people you look up to, leaders, right? You want them to get right down in the mud with you, right? If they have to, you respect them more, and they're also teachers. And so I where was I going with this?
I have no clue.
I'm just saying. I don't think that the people that you're calling leaders, calling teachers, would people who are just absolutely pacifists and people you'd walk on. I don't think that God's calling us to be that way.
No, and so yeah. So I guess I'm looking at the word violent here, right? Or
Right.
the questioner. So I'm not 100% sure what exactly he was getting at. So I'm just trying to
Sure.
play all angles of it. But
Good question.
let's use. We have the violent, like you talked about the first idea of this being hyper aggressive or hyper or whatever.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at what if it literally means violent. What I mean by could a sergeant of arms, is it wrong to be in the military in a SEAL or whatever and be a Christian? No. I mean, I think we'd all say no, right?
Absolutely.
As long as
I
you're
agree.
under just war theory, right? We talked about just war theory. So as long as what you're engaging in as war is just, it's not wrong. But does this maybe say that? But that's not a lifestyle or a position or a occupation to have if you are called to church leadership. I'm just asking the question.
I don't think so at all. And I think
I don't either.
where my mind goes with this is who's he addressing? He's addressing leadership in the church. So really talking about somebody who is dealing with members of the church and dealing with the leadership of the church and how we move forward, right, as a congregation, what are we doing? What are we teaching about? Things like that, right? And not being confrontational to its own members. It doesn't mean, it doesn't say anything about not being confrontational. It doesn't say anything about not being, a man of righteousness, right? Which, and sometimes righteousness means you have to get after it, right, a little bit. And I think it's just more about how you are. You're going to be, if you're the leader of that, right, of this church or part of the leadership, people have to be comfortable coming to you with things, right? And if you're a man of violence who's just like, all you talk about is, you're just always on edge, right? You're this, your mentality is, kill them all.
Yeah, shoot
Then
first.
shoot first and ask questions later. Who would want to come to you as a leader with anything?
Right.
And even I think it even builds a trust issue as well.
Yeah.
Like, this guy just flies off the handle at everything. He's just always, it's kill first and ask questions later. Well, and I mean that figuratively in some senses, but just, yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it a little bit is
Yeah, I agree.
from a leadership perspective. Like who am I and who am I responsible for when God, at the end of the day, when God's like, you're responsible for these people. Okay. Now how are you coming at them? And it would be like a father to their children, right?
Yeah.
If you were a violent, abusive, I wouldn't even say abusive, but you were just a violent person and your mentality was just always just like on edge. Your kids wouldn't want to come to you either for anything. It'd be like,
Yeah.
stay away from that guy.
I
Yeah.
agree. I feel like this goes way back, like one of our first 2 or 3 podcasts. We talked about meekness a lot.
Yeah.
Being a man, like having a power, having authority, but maybe not always having to lord it over. Like the three of us would probably say if we're looking to a leader, right? We'd be looking to a guy who had that ability, right? A person who had power. We'd respect that. you know, and then the ability to use it would have to be a decision, right?
Yeah.
Not a, that's what I jump to first, you know.
Yeah.
You take me off. I'm.
Yeah. Your default is not.
Yeah. It's not violence. It's hey, it's authority, and you know, violence at a last resort almost.
Have you ever thought of those people? I was just thinking when we were talking about that a little bit. So there's those people out there that you could probably classify as like they're gentle people, but there's something about them that you know if something hit the fan, they could flip that switch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that I feel like, yeah, they would be there at your side as well if you needed them to be. Even if you'd never seen them in that context, you're like, I trust that person would flip the switch.
There's a bunch of people like that in our church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I agree with you guys a lot. I mean, 100% that this is not saying that you cannot be, you know, a church leader and be in a profession of arms. Definitely not saying that. And I also don't think it means that even regardless of your profession is that you can never be capable of violence.
Sure.
Right. But, and I also look at like the list that's given, like, so it goes, you know, basically don't be drunk or don't be violent. Right. And so I kind of looked through this verse and I looked at many translations, right? All this stuff. And one of the ones, the Darby translation talks about, you know, do not give into excess from wine, not a striker, but mild, right? And so in these things, so you're taking those first two together, like a lot of people when they get drunk, they get violent, right?
Yeah.
So it's stupid violence. It's
Right.
worthless violence.
There you go. Worthless
and
violence.
so
That's a good idea.
and I think that's the thing, because I think that we see through Scripture in other places there is a time for violence, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not when God calls for that time, it's that time.
Yeah.
And so, and I think honestly, like we should be violent against the sin in our own lives. And that's a whole other thing. But like there is a violent attitude to the Christian life, but it's not against people. It's against, you know,
The bigger picture.
yeah.
That 1 Timothy 3, you know, probably has many things that would make you think a lot about. I mean, obviously it says, you know, not violent but gentle. But then the very next lines, you know, the very next words are like, not quarrelsome. Well, I don't immediately jump to a fight, but with you argumentatively, but I'm willing to like defend truth, right? And
Right.
you know, next thing, not a lover of money. Well, you know, manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive.
Oh, stop. That's
Uh-oh.
that's the next question.
Okay, all right.
All right. So good segue. You're the segue.
Hey, look at that.
Wow, man.
All right. It says, so this is the same email. It said, secondly, I will admit that 1 Timothy 3:4 makes me feel as if I'm missing the mark. Manage household well and keep children submissive. It says, I manage my household, but I don't know how to measure how well. Secondly, my children submit to me well, but not so well to my wife. Yes, that reflects poorly upon my leadership as a man, but how can you better discipline children to create submissiveness to somebody else? So looking at that,
man.
whereas, you know, we have like same list of qualifications for elders, but he's basically saying is, you know, like he doesn't know how to measure what is well, and two, he says that his kids submit well to him, but they're not submitting to his wife. And if he's leader of the home, that reflects back onto him. So is he, you know,
Yeah.
So how do we do this?
My mind goes, first thing I think about is how is our hierarchy structured, right, in the church? It's Christ and then our marriage, right? That's supposed to be the second hierarchy, and family is third. And really emphasizing that, and it's hard, don't get me wrong, we all fail at that a lot, but kids understanding, right? Your kids understanding who's more important than them to you as the father of the house, right? And to me, it's my wife is first. My relationship with my wife comes first. And that means if you disrespect my wife, you're disrespecting me, right? If you wouldn't disrespect me, you better not be disrespecting my wife. And the kids I think kids need to understand that. This is my wife. This is who I have committed my life to.
We are one. Yeah.
We are one, right? We are the same. So there's that messaging, if you will, how that comes across, how you have to say that. And every kid's a little different. But then two, your wife has to be on that same page, right? So they have to be on board with the understanding, I think, of that same type of message, that I am one with your father, right? And now what you say to me, you're saying to him, and vice versa. And always confronting the situation in that manner, right? Do we do that? No, I fail at it quite a few times, right? But at the same time, I know plenty of times that I could reflect on where I have made sure that was known to my children that this does not happen.
Right.
When your mother says this, you do it. If you don't do it, you're saying the same thing to me. Would you do that if I was standing there? No. Then you don't do it to your mother either.
Yeah.
And the other part is consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is always the key, right? It's always this thing where we read things like this in the Bible, right? Guilty of it. We got to start doing this in our house, and it works for about 3 weeks. So, and then we start to fade right on the consistency part, and then we fade away from it, and then pretty soon we're just right back to where it started. And so now our kids are conditioned to, well, just
Play the game,
and then they'll forget about it anyway, right? And then you're back to normal. So I think a little bit of all that.
That's a hard question, isn't it?
It is. It's tough.
It is, and I think a part of that too is we need to make sure that our kids never see us speaking to our wives in a way
man.
That's
we would not let them talk to our
right.
wives.
Right.
You trying to convict me or something?
Yeah. So, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just so like, and because I've seen it where the mom gets crapped on,
Yeah.
but the kids learned it from the father.
Yeah.
And so we got to make sure that we, which I understand, you know, and so we got this, my phone's making noises, this weird like whole thing where we've got to this balance, we are to lead the home, but we lead as stewards, right? So we've talked about all this
We're
stuff.
servants.
We're servants.
Right.
So it's this whole cycle thing where is like, and I'm not saying the reason our kids think they can disrespect their mother this way is because they've seen us do it.
I would.
Our wives are gifts. Our kids are gifts. We have to, like you say, be stewards.
And so and the way we lead our wives is much different than the way we lead our kids.
Oh yeah.
And so that's another balance too. And so there's a lot of things in play in here, and I would tell you how to do it if I knew how. But I fail at it,
man.
I fail at it every second, every day.
I think, to your point, I agree, and I think part of my struggle in that is taking the time to see it and recognize that. So to your point, if the kid disrespects my wife, my reaction is to instantly react to the situation versus first slowing down, taking a sip of the rye, right? If you will.
Go outside.
Sit
on the porch.
Take a sip of
Slow
rye.
down.
Assess the situation and get some word from the Father, right? Let the Holy Spirit speak to us. That's why He's here. Speak to us about the situation. To your point, are they doing this now? Reflecting on that, saying, are they doing this because I did that to my wife? And then apologizing for that, but doing that in front of your kids too, right?
Yeah.
Owning it, showing your kids this is what I did.
So you're trying to be beyond reproach at home?
Yeah,
all the time.
Something.
This is hard.
Dang it. Anyway, but yeah, to that point of reflecting on what it was, what it is, or even when you approach then the kid about that, saying, if I've ever done this to your mother, that was wrong. Because you might not remember, right? It might have been a long time ago. And
You
what
remember.
you did was wrong.
You remember.
Yeah, probably.
Yesterday.
I do.
More than likely. Anyway, but then addressing that to the child too, that this is not, if you've seen me do it, that was wrong. You doing it is definitely wrong and will not be stood. You know what I mean? That type of approach, I think, is probably important.
Yeah.
And honestly, like something that I have to constantly deal with and learn is, so I'm a pretty sarcastic person, right?
No.
Yeah, a little
What?
bit.
Not
So-
Aaron.
But I have to be careful because I've been caught because I'll say stuff to Liz in sarcasm, and she knows it's sarcasm.
Sure.
Your kids are
My
like,
kids don't.
Right.
And so they say it.
Dad's talking trash to mom.
Yeah.
Well, or they'll bring the same thing, but
Yeah.
it's not a joke. It's not sarcasm.
Right.
And now it's a problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so we've got to be like, it's this taming the tongue thing that talks about, like, back in Proverbs.
Yeah.
It's real. And so we have to be a constant thing. And so I think we have to be careful because there's times that maybe we're not intentionally speaking to our wives this way,
Right.
but because of adults understanding differences in this. And so, and not that we have to like, no, I can never be joking around my wife anymore.
Right.
But we got to be able to explain these to our kids and say, but that's not what you did. And so there's still a problem here. And then again, like you said, Rob, bring back that hierarchy that that's my wife. Like
Yeah.
Dylan was talking about last week. That's my wife. That's a different level than you guys are. And so
I was just thinking about that story, Dylan highlighting that a couple of weeks ago about, your dad getting in your face. And I was just sitting here feeling convicted about how I've done that to my kids, and I've gone so overboard that I taught them a terrible lesson. Oh, so when you tick mom off and dad gets in your face, he really gets in your face. And I think, what's it say about, making your kids submissive, but not.
Oh, don't exacerbate your kids.
Not exacerbating them.
Yeah.
I've totally just you will never talk to my wife that way, you little, and I'm going, that's not what I wanted to teach them.
If you called your kids a little SOB, it really doesn't work.
You just called mom and
Yeah, you just call mom. They're going to ponder on that.
oh
What?
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. No, I would agree. Like the sarcasm thing, I've dealt with that a few times, and it's not that the kids sometimes, even in those cases, are trying to say anything bad. They think they're using the sarcasm in the same way.
They don't get it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it was wrong context, wrong timing. Mom asked them to do something and then they become sarcastic, and it's like, that's not when you use sarcasm, right? And so
Are you crazy?
So part of it is I have to slow down instead of just getting mad at them, because I'm like, well, I do that. Saying what you did was wrong, and the reason why is because one, you used it in the wrong context, right? Like you're not
and two,
poor timing there, Seinfeld,
I'm sorry, but kids just can't talk to adults that way.
Exactly. Yeah, they should.
Right. You're right.
Right. And sarcasm itself, I've been a bit convicted on the sarcasm thing too. Just,
Oh yeah.
Well,
what it says.
We don't have to be
I don't know if the Bible even says anything about sarcasm, but it's it's our words.
You're not supposed to be George Costanza's parents.
No.
all right, so we're going to go a little tangent here.
A little bit.
You got
Thanks for warning.
You got a
us.
question that's not so heavy this time.
No, but this is a tangent.
This is a tangent. Tangent question.
I got a tangent question too. Then
It's really hard, like nomenclature and verbiage in kids. It's so hard because you're saying, you can't kids need to know they can't talk to adults the way they talk to their friends. The respect level is different.
Oh, sure.
And so, but adults are our friends, and so they see us talking to them that way, and so it's a really I think that we've become so lazy as parents, generationally. Just all of us are, and that's why and we're okay, I don't feel like having to figure this all out, so just go over there. But it is in order to properly train kids to interact with adults, but knowing that in time that will change, it takes a lot of work.
it does, man. I'm sitting here thinking about how I love hanging out with you guys and busting your balls over stupid stuff, and now I kind of want my son to be that way, but maybe not right now. But yet he's sitting here watching me do that with you guys,
Right. But if if Henry was sitting here and he starts busting my balls, I'm gonna be like, dude,
listen, punk.
Yeah, listen to your kid. No, I'm not.
Well, I think that's part of it's almost like a what I think what we lack nowadays to that point.
Sense of humor.
No, it's a rite of passage,
Right.
Almost, right?
Right.
It was something when I grew up. You didn't do it to adults because you hadn't earned it yet,
Right.
right? And I don't know where that was lost, right? Where it's now because I'm 14 or 16 or whatever, I can do that to adults. No, I still didn't do that when I was a kid. I knew I could do it to my friends, but I knew I didn't do it to adults.
But it's
You know what I mean?
But it's like a scale because like a 7-year-old, no, you can't come at me, period.
Right.
Yeah.
Without respect. 14, 15, 16, you've got a little bit of grace there. There's certain things you can chop me on.
I get it.
And so it's you scale into it now, and then you get to be an adult, or older than me, like Lewis here, we're,
old as
on death's door.
yeah,
and
dirt.
and he can bust me on anything. It don't matter. And so it's this weird like thing. And I think that you're right. Like we don't have a like. Are we teaching especially our young men, our boys, that this is not only the correct passage of respect and that kind of stuff, but also that no, you are earning the right to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if we do, and at least I don't think I do it well.
And you truly earned it when we were younger. Like your uncle give you a hard time, your grandpa give you a hard time. Now like 7-year or 14-year-old kids can go on and like they can go on Twitter and call the president an idiot and never have any repercussion for it.
Where like I remember like it used to be if you said something you weren't supposed to, you got popped in the mouth.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying we should go back to popping kids in the mouth. I'm just saying like it's just we've got to.
Isn't that what it means to make them submissive?
Bear the rod, spoil the child. Yeah,
Pretty sure. But isn't that in 2 Timothy?
Yeah, but I do think that we need to figure like this rite of passage / respect thing needs to be. We need to be since it's out of the culture. We need to be more proactive as Christian men to train it. And when I say respect, I mean I'm not talking like particular verbiage or whatever. I mean to a point I am like I ain't gonna lie. Like and I'm from the South, but when a 5-year-old comes up to me and he's like, "Hey Aaron," I'm like, "No, I'm Mr. Noller." Like,
oh sure,
you know what I mean? Like, or at least Mr. Aaron. Like I'm not your buddy,
right?
Sure. And so but I think the respect side is and this stuff is more of the understanding of the right, like I said, the rite of passage, for lack of a better word. I think that's why we need it. Is that manhood is something to aspire to, not something you just age into.
Yeah,
right.
So, anyways, that was my tangent.
No, it's good.
No, that's a good question.
There's a good. I think John Eldridge does a good job in Fathered by God. I think it is where he talks a lot about the stages of manhood, like as a boy, you're a boy, and then you get into this like cowboy phase, and you get into these different phases of life, and like that, the progression, and then the rite of passage into the next phase, right, in and out of phases, and I think that's a lot of lost, and a lot of that's lost nowadays because as fathers, we're maybe not helping that transition in a lot of ways, and I think it's a really good book in that case because there's a lot of things I saw that like, oh, I didn't get that. And maybe didn't pass through a phase correctly, if you will, and lost a lot of things that I had to make up. But anyway, that's part of the tangent.
No tangent. Yep. All right. So this is the last question for the night because we're already almost at an hour. So,
really?
Yeah.
Let me ask a dumb question before you go. I just thought of this. Sorry, I gotta ask. So Rob painted this great picture a second ago of like, slowing down. I keep hearing that word right in this discussion tonight. Slow down. Slow down, think about your words. Slow down and have a nice glass of rye after the game went, however it went.
It's fantastic.
That kind of stuff. So it made me think, like, do you ever think about slowing down, like when you go to the gun range? Like, do you ever just load up one round at a time in a revolver and just...
Slow is smooth is fast.
And then just enjoy each shot?
I got the shirt and everything.
Well,
I do that with rifles, honestly.
You do?
More like...
Well, I do with pistols, but it's not the same. Like, I go to 5 rounds as opposed to a full mag.
But to slow me down, I love just getting on the ground and just, you know what I mean?
Really?
Just one bolt action, just slowing everything down and just focusing.
How about you, Aaron? Because
I'm a 5 round
to me, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
No, so I'm just
then it's double taps, and then it's
by round 200. You're like, I just want to get through these rounds.
So I'm a 5 round. I load mags of 5 rounds when I go to the range to practice. So mostly when I go to the range, I'm shooting pistol, right? In fact, and I don't shoot rifle near as much as I should. But so I go to the range. I load 5 round mags, and then I always do 3-shot groups. So every other grouping, I got to work in a reload.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just go through my shooting from standstill, and everything's from concealment. Shooting from standstill, then I'm very, very routine oriented. So I go shooting from a standstill, shooting moving left, shooting moving right, shooting moving forward, shooting moving back, and then I back up, repeat, and I go home.
What do you do to learn and challenge that routine?
It's timing. It's time.
Okay.
So I run a shot.
What do you do to challenge that routine? So to challenge, like, am I doing everything that I could be doing to be better, or am I just
No, so my thing is
honing
I'm trying to be proficient. So it's just
specific way of doing it all the time?
So it's a 3x5 card.
Yeah.
That's what I'm shooting at. As long as everything's in that 3x5, which they're not always, or very.
You shoot about 40 yards, right?
No. So I'm starting at 7,
Okay.
right?
I would
And-
start at 7D to see.
Yeah.
70
3 by
Okay,
5.
Rob.
inches.
Rob,
Just kidding.
we know what your job is. I'm a farmer, different skill set.
You're just a farmer.
Yeah, just a farmer. But then I do that, and so then, but it's just time. So I set the stock, I set the shot clock,
Yeah.
and then if I'm not 2 out of 3 in the card, it doesn't count. Do it again, and so then I'm trying to beat my time. That's all I do. And so, is it the most proficient way to train? Probably not. But that's what I do.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
so.
Do you ever- do you ever
I'm not an
Consistency.
expert.
Consistency.
Do you ever stand like 5 feet from the target and like draw Mozambique, like shoot from the hip?
Oh yeah, I've done all that
and,
stuff,
and then
yeah.
boom,
So I've done the
headshot to
It's not
finish,
even 5 feet. It's the
where you're fighting.
but you got your
somebody.
arm on him on the target. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I shoot a lot of steel, and so you can't shoot steel
Nah, that doesn't work
Get
out.
some
so-
paper.
that close.
Get some paper targets.
Yeah, cardboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the frangible rounds tend to hit you when you're 3 feet away.
Yeah. Yeah. Laser does not.
Yeah.
So.
Spalling.
All right, guys, let's go to this last question.
Sorry
here.
about that.
No, you're good. It says, so this is going off one of our previous deals. It says, we should as men within the church lead the way we should as men within the church lead the way in service. My rule of thumb is if you see a need to fill, it is best of your ability. If you're gifted in a specific area, obviously pursue that in ministry. But it's usually parts that people don't want to be involved in where they can be the most effective. All right, so the question is, we talk about like what is the role of men in church, right? I think that was the episode he's talking about. So if we don't feel gifted in an area, but we see a need, is that where God's calling us to fill? I guess is what he's asking.
Oh, that's a tough one because I think we get it. You can easily get into the whole.
Hey Rob, hand me those M&Ms.
You can easily get into the whole do mentality. Then, like I'm supposed to be doing something,
Right.
and now I see a need. I should be doing that. And am I being guided to do that? Is am I being called? You know what I mean? Like,
You feel prompted by God.
yeah, am I being prompted to do that? And even like you said, even if you're not, even though I'm not gifted at that, but if I feel God's prompting me to do it and I do it anyway, then if it's of Him, then it doesn't matter how good or bad I'm at it, right? It should be there's more. There's probably sometimes more to the need, right? Like what we see as the need. There's more behind that, especially if we're prompted to go do it, right? You might not even see or understand what the fruit is of that going to be because you're only looking at it from one aspect. You're looking at it from let's say it's like you see the need of you've got to, go help some elderly person do some work on their home. And you are not a handy person,
I need some
right?
help.
Yeah. And normally you're not a handy person. Like you can fumble through at your own house, but you don't like doing it, right? But you feel prompted by God to go do that. Well, you going and helping that person could lead to something more than just whatever the job is, right? It's more about the connection and all those things. So I think that's a tough one to answer just because I feel like sometimes we look at it and it's like, okay, I should be doing something. And I don't know that that's the mentality we should have in things. It should be more about where am I? One, yes. Do I have not a gifting, but a propensity towards that type of stuff? And am I good at it?
Right.
Do I have knowledge of it and I could help somebody? Am I led to do that? Then why not? Right? Like, sure. Okay. But then there's the spiritual gifting of something. Maybe it's something you normally wouldn't do, but you feel led to do it. And you know that without Christ's help, you're not going to be able to do that. If you feel led, do it, right? Because
He's going to guide you.
yeah, the Holy Spirit will be there to give you what you need at the time, right? To accomplish whatever it is He's asking you to do. So I think it's a tough question to answer in that that realm, in that respect.
I guess an angle I would kind of look at it is, like, say we see a need, right? When in this question is specifically at church, so like within the local body, but let's even outside of that. So if I see a need, and so we're going to use the nursery as an example here, right? Because there's always a need in the nursery for more people.
You would excel at that, dude.
No, I would not. Like, I would not do well in the nursery. That's not my jam. I'm not gifted in any way. I don't have a calling in any way, but I can still see a need there, right?
Yeah.
And so if I see the need and I feel I feel like I need to provide more service to the church, does that mean I need to serve in the nursery? No. But it may mean that I need to help with the organization to find somebody else to get there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways to attack the problem. Yeah. And so I think we got to be careful that we're not saying, like, yeah, God might be saying, hey, you know, there's a need in the nursery, not enough people. And my first response is, like, well, I mean, God's I feel the need there. I feel a burden to help them. So I guess I got to sign up to work in the nursery.
Well, that goes
and God, hold on, let me finish. And God's like, no. The reason I'm showing you this because you're very good at organization and setting up schedules. Yeah. So I want you to do the administrative side.
There you go.
You know, and so fitting our given talents into positions takes some wisdom.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's perfect because that leads right into what we're talking about, and that's I forget where it's at in the Bible, but it talks about where like the apostles were doing everything, right? They were helping the needy. They were doing it. And it finally got to the point where they're like, no, you guys need to get out of that stuff. There's plenty of people within the church who need to step up and help with those things who are gifted in those areas, right? Like Bartholomew was the encourager, right? And he was good at encouraging and getting things going in that area. So why wouldn't we use those talents, like to your point, exactly, like how I may not be the best, I'm not going to be the one sitting in there changing the diapers, right? But if I'm that type of person that can rally people around that cause and get people in there, why wouldn't I do that, right? Or why shouldn't I? So I totally agree with that. That's awesome because that's the way I see it too. It's like people just look at the direct need instead of the how can I help in that area need as well.
So I think we need to be conscious and aware.
You need full conscience.
But we got to be aware of like the needs, and if our hearts pull towards something, but if when we look at it on the surface level, we go, it's not my jam, right? Well, let's step back a second and wait. How is it God's asking me to interact in this? Like what does He gift me with that can help alleviate this issue or can minister or serve in this area? And that might not be being the foots on the ground or the feet on the ground,
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Yeah. Whatever. Toes on the ground.
The beats on the ground.
Yeah. Flip flops. And, but maybe God is softening your heart for a reason. And so my answer to that is again, just because you're not gifted in an area, one, there are times God's going to call us outside of our comfort zone.
Sure.
But if you have a specific gifting, God may be wanting you to use that gifting in an area that doesn't make sense to you on face value. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we have to let's step back. God gave us a mind, use it.
Listen. So
actually, I got one more question to kind of finish the night, and this is coming out of last minute email. So what we're going to discuss is where's the boundary between waiting on God and not being proactive?
The boundary?
So my question is if there's something you got going on, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to look at it either as, okay, I've been praying about this. I need God to show me where to go. Mm-hmm. Where's the boundary between just sitting and waiting for God to do something and you being lazy, not proactive in pushing or looking?
That's a
whole nother episode.
It could be easily, yeah. Because I think there's times when I don't even think it's a boundary, honestly. I think it's sometimes you need to just move forward in things, but back to the whole being in the moment and just pausing, right? And
having a nice ride
and just taking each step, taking it step by step. Because I truly, and then having the faith in Him to know that He's either going to pull me back or He's going to open doors like I could never open and keep me moving forward. And I think a lot of that is what He's asking is it's not wait for me to tell you when to move. It's more like just start moving in faith.
Yeah.
And if I want you to do it, doors will open. And if I don't want you to do it, I'm going to close those doors. And just walking in that faith, and then not being upset if doors close, right? Like, because I think it's where I'm supposed to go. Well, the door closes. Okay, it's not where you want me to go. Now what? Now okay, this looks like the way. So you know what I mean? It's almost like that. Like the path is there in front of you. You need to start walking down it, and maybe you take a left turn and you realize, nope, that's a dark path. I got to go back this way.
Or using the door analogy. So we need to continue to knock on doors.
Yeah.
Until God opens one.
Yeah, knock on doors or move into them. Say, press into it and see whether or not you bounce back, right?
Right.
Like, oh. And I think the big thing though is not being discouraged when we are bouncing back, because I think there's lessons to be learned along the way in those. Because I think, I can cite many examples in my own life where I thought I was going down the path that He had for me, and it totally just took a left turn, but. So I learned so much in that moment. And could I become bitter and be like upset? Like, oh, that wasn't what God wanted for me. And like mad and upset. No, I have, right. I've done that. And that's not, then I totally missed the point, or I missed the lesson, right. In what's involved. I think He's teaching and just understanding His sovereignty and His love for us, that He loves me enough that He's purposefully trying to teach me something along the way, no matter what I'm doing.
Right.
And more of it is moving forward. Because I think I get not upset, but it's frustrating when I hear people who are like, I don't want to do anything because I want to make sure God says do it.
Right.
And I don't think that He does that in that sense. I think He wants us to move forward in Him, and then let Him guide us along the way. He doesn't want us just to sit back on the couch and wait. Like, once the door opens, then I'll get up off the couch. No, get up off the couch now and start moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that too. I think that God's like, He says, I've given you a mind. I've given you intellect.
Yeah.
You've prayed for wisdom. I've given you, doses of wisdom.
Yeah.
So move. And when you start and I will, in your movement, direct you.
Yeah.
But if you're just sitting on the couch, like you said, or just sitting waiting, you're going to be sitting waiting.
We're walking in faith, and those things.
Walking in faith. That's the thing. We're not standing.
Yes.
And those things you just mentioned,
moving.
those are gifts. God's made you a steward for those gifts, right? He said, hey, get up off that couch, or make that move that you're afraid of. I'm prompting you. Okay.
Yeah.
You have the intellect. You have the ability. I've given you those things. Use them, idiot.
And a lot of times,
Normally how he signs
He
it.
doesn't say that.
yeah. And I heard,
That was me.
Yeah.
That was some Hollywood stuff. But
I heard a guy the other day say this, and it kind of was profound to me. It's like, sometimes God's voice sounds like your own.
Yeah.
Right? It's that inner talk, inner dialogue that we have. And it's like, I should do this.
yeah,
Okay, and do that. But that's where we can pause and be like, God, I'm moving forward in this because I think this is of you.
yeah,
And just pause and ask that, right? And it
Right.
doesn't hurt, right? That's what He's looking for. He wants that conversation, that dialogue with us. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in like, oh, I've got to have wisdom. I've got to have all these things.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
Exactly.
No,
I.
just give it to Him.
Yeah, because to that whole I thing, you go back to Moses, right? He kept saying, I'm not good at...
I'm not a good speaker.
I'm not a good speaker. I'm not a good leader. I'm not a... And then what does God say to him? Tell him that I am. That I am.
There you go.
You don't have to be anything. God has to be the I am. And that's like, oh, that takes a lot of pressure off. So
Exactly.
let Him be the I am, and you just move forward in Him. Say, you're the I am, so I'm moving.
Yeah, and think of it, and when God's prompting you, or that person who asked that question, man, think of how God has blessed you, man, and think of how God has shown you over and over that He loves you, and that He's blessed things that you've done. Just listen, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw actually it's on LinkedIn, but kind of a quote that makes sense to kind of finish us off. It says it's hard to hear God's voice when you've already decided what you want Him to say.
Oh, we do that all the time, don't we?
For sure.
Yeah.
You got that from LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You must
I think
be
it's
linked
good.
to the right people.
But I also think that it's hard sometimes to discern. Was that me
Was that God?
or was that God? And sometimes you have to take that step of faith thinking, okay, I'm moving this way.
Yeah.
Shut the door, but don't be upset if the door shuts.
Right. And yeah. You
Yeah.
have that prayer
You know what I mean?
like, hey God, if this is like I'm moving here, and I mean, I've talked to other people who sit at this table who've said prayer like, this is where I'm going, God. If this is wrong, you've got to close the door because I don't have the willpower to do it.
Right.
And I think God will. Like he'll
Yeah.
say, yeah, if the door's closed, he'll do it.
Yep.
Because he reckon like in our weakness he's perfected, right? And so like he recognizes like, God, I'm too weak to know this where I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to move here thinking this you, but I understand that I'm trash and I need you to to fix this. And God will be like, okay, like I'm glad you're doing something and you're seeking me, but this is not the right door.
Right.
Slam.
Yep.
And so you look at it as then you should rejoice that God is answering because he's closed the door because
exactly.
So yeah,
Might have kept you from a lot of heartache and problems and all kinds of
and
stuff.
tuberculosis.
And tuberculosis.
Yes.
Or
You never
turkey
know.
flu.
You never know.
Tuberculosis is right around the corner.
Dude,
about
it's
any time.
everywhere. It's a pandemic. All right.
Yes.
Well,
Tuberculosis pox.
but yep. All right, guys, we'll close her down. So hey, guys, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and a great holiday season. We will be moving in. We'll be around a couple times here before Christmas. Then we're gonna be on a little break, and then we should be getting into our 1-year anniversary.
Wow.
Oh man,
Was it beginning of the year?
Yeah, it's January.
I got a bottle of 10-year Pappy Van Winkle just for that.
Do you?
Yep.
Are you seriously making this up?
No, I'm just trusting that that's gonna come in.
He's going to move forward.
Yeah. If not, God did not win.
God will shut the door if it's not supposed to happen.
If we're not supposed to have that, it's not gonna show up.
Awesome.
Sorry.
All right. Rob, you want to close us in prayer, man?
Yeah. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this time. We thank you for the opportunity to give Thanksgiving with our families and just the blessing of who you are in our lives. And so we just pray over our time, our words, and that they would, anything that is of you would just seek into hearts and minds. Anything that's not of you would just float away out of minds and hearts. But we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come together. We bless our listeners, and we thank you for the opportunity to do this. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys. Again, we'll catch you next time on the Manhood Neat podcast.
And I'm thankful for the winner of today's Nebraska-Iowa game.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy, though, if, like a bottle of Pappy just shows up in your mailbox?